Hey, what's up, YouTube family? It's your favorite black guy from Nebraska. Yes, there's black people in Nebraska. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. First of all, good evening. I want you guys to please give me some foot traffic on my previous video. YouTube is not showing any of. I did some great content, and I read out of a book called The FBI War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders. And I showed you, and I presented information in regards to how that's what we want to talk about on this content, how Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated with many moving parts that had everything to do with our United States government and the mafia. Okay, please, it's 22 minutes, but it's 22 minutes full of great information that I guarantee you never knew. So I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Today's gonna be a video, and this content is gonna come out of the book, Drugs as Weapons Against Us by John L. Potash. The CIA's murderous targeting of SDS, Panthers, Hendrix, Lenin, Cobain, Tupac, and other activists. Today we're gonna talk about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. One of the reasons why they were both assassinated, because they opposed the Vietnam War. So this is going to be a very, very short, brief video, maybe 10 minutes, maybe. So let's go ahead and get to it. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. were two of Black America's most important leaders in the 60s. Internationally, Malcolm X had commented that African independence leaders had developed socialist policies. These leaders formed a group they called the Organization of African Unity. Malcolm X was the only American allowed in their meetings. Malcolm X had split with the Nation of Islam, NOI, by 1964. Malcolm formed the Organization of Afro-American Unity based in New York to expand his work for civil rights and social justice to non-religious and non-Black activists who weren't part of the NOI. Malcolm X maintained his position of militant self-defense while he began directly collaborating with Martin Luther King's group and other civil rights movement leaders. How many of you guys knew that? Malcolm X had an impact on the American oligarchy and U.S. intelligence use of drugs as political weapons in two ways. First, Malcolm X helped develop a very effective addiction treatment and peer support program in the Nation of Islam, which he described in the autobiography of Malcolm X. Malcolm X did not allow drug use among his group members, and he helped influence others against drug use. Secondly, according to the late Columbia University professor Manning Marable, Malcolm X was the first prominent African-American leader and arguably the first American leader to oppose the Vietnam War. Gunmen assassinated Malcolm X, then calling himself El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, on February 21st, 1965. An FBI memorandum of March 1968 discussed their long-range goals. These include the goal to prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant Black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a messiah. He is the martyr of the movement today. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Elijah Muhammad all aspire to this position. Elijah Muhammad is less of a threat because of his age. King could be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrines, nonviolence. This and other documents show how Malcolm X had clearly emerged as U.S. intelligence's top threat. Martin Luther King Jr. won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 after close to a decade of nonviolent civil rights organizing, during which he spearheaded many marches and rallies to end segregation and gain voting rights denied to many poor Blacks in the American South. Later, according to CIA documents and FBI agents, the government's goal was to destroy the increasing radical King, who had grown more complacent about Blacks' righteous response to injustice, saying, a riot is the language of the unheard. The CIA made Malcolm their #1 Black activist target. William Pepper worked as a journalist in Vietnam, an experience that led to an anti-war activist beside King, and the two once tried to start a new political party together. Almost 30 years later, William Pepper published a book, Orders to Kill, and later Act of State, about his investigation of MLK's assassination, detailing U.S. intelligence documents, government whistleblowers, and other evidence supporting the suspicion that the oligarchy had U.S. intelligence assassinate Martin Luther King. By that time, King's sons and daughters had grown up to become accomplished leaders in their own right. In his introduction to Orders to Kill's 1998 edition, MLK's son, Dexter Scott King, said U.S. intelligence orchestrated the assassination of his father in 68 for several reasons. Their primary motive was to stop MLK's civil rights work and anti-Vietnam War organizing. The exhaustive evidence regarding the motive included the fact that the U.S. intelligence orchestrated MLK's assassination on the exact one-year anniversary of his first official speech against the Vietnam War at New York's Riverside Church on April 4th, 1967. So, just to put this in perspective, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated a year later on the same day that he gave the speech against the Vietnam War. That is called a threat timing tactic. They appeared to want to send a message against anti-war organizing. This magnifies the importance of the war to control the Golden Triangle opium cultivating region. Pepper and others found government documented evidence that a dozen government intelligence agencies coordinated their plotting against King before his death. Many witnesses and much evidence support how they worked with police and contracted with the mafia to aid the fatal shooting of MLK in Memphis. MLK's widow, Coretta Scott King, and their children had William Pepper, who had become an attorney, represent them in a lawsuit, partially to help publicize Pepper's findings. The King family filed a lawsuit against Lloyd Jowers and his government intelligence co-conspirators in MLK's assassination. Jowers owned the boarding house from where the assassin's shots reportedly came. The suit came to trial in 1999, and the King family won their case in court. The King family placed the entire trial transcript on the King Center website. The mafia figures U.S. intelligence contracted to aid this assassination were steeped in drug trafficking. Myron Billett told a U.S. House of Representatives subcommittee on assassinations that in January of '68, he witnessed several CIA and FBI agents offer the heads of New York's top mafia families $1 million to aid in the assassination of MLK. That's how much they wanted this man dead, $1 million in 1968, which is probably $10 million today. The New York Mafia rejected the offer. Carlos Marcello's New Orleans crime family accepted it. Carlos Marcello trafficked vast amounts of morphine and cocaine into the United States. His Memphis crime associate, Frank Liberto, who aided more directly in the operation, was also reportedly involved in drug trafficking. Guys, this book is amazing. This book helped me shape my thoughts on how I see the world and pretty much government. So this book really opened my eyes. This book and the FBI War on Tupac Shakur Black Leaders really opened my eyes to what's really out there and how, like Mac Drake would say, the game is thick. It's really deep out here. And a lot of people don't understand how serious things are out here when it comes to higher authorities and what they're involved in. People don't understand. People don't know. Ignorance is bliss. Sometimes I think about this stuff and I say, man, I was more free thinking and free loving when I wasn't so, turned on and I understood how things really truly work in the world, So I hope you guys enjoyed this information. I also have Robert F. Kennedy in here. Let's see who else we got in here. CIA targets John F. Kennedy. So this book is full of information and great information. If you guys like this, you enjoyed this, let me know. I can read more out of this book. You got Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, Tupac, Huey Newton, Abby Hoffman, Robert Kennedy, Eminem. All these people were targeted by U.S. intelligence at one point in their life and probably still are today, those who are still alive. So it's your favorite black guy from Nebraska. Yes, there's plenty, and I mean plenty of black people here in Nebraska. All right. I'll peep you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace. And please watch my video from yesterday, guys. If YouTube's gonna show it some love, please watch my video from yesterday. It's really, really great. All right, I'm out.